grayscale. So today is the 21st, all day long. What's up, Hayden? I know, but can I help? All right. So my goal is however quickly we can get through this. Then I subscribe to a few different channels on YouTube, and there's some cool things that a few of them did over the, or like, not that they did, but that they posted over the weekend, as well as we could play some Mind Trap. Because yes, I know we only have 2 days of school this week, but we might as well wrap up this chapter so that when we come back from Thanksgiving, we could do a tiny bit of review, and you're ready for the mastery. So, over break, your homework is just to wrap up all of your Chapter 7 work. Please message me if you have any questions or concerns about any of that. But by the time we get back, you guys should be done with all of your Chapter 7. So, in our first problem here, we have 3 paintings. Anyone ever been to stores like IKEA or like Home Goods or those places where there's like multiple paintings that all actually go together? There's like different canvases, yeah, and they like relate to each other, right? So here we have a mountain scene on 3 different canvases. And one friend is trying to figure out how to describe the area of the whole thing. They're trying to figure out how to talk about the area of the entire thing together. So one friend writes out this expression, and another friend just writes 25H. Now, they're friends, so of course they're arguing, because, you know, all good friendships argue. And they can't decide which one's right, so they come to you. And they say, can you help us figure out which one of us is right? Andrew?
Aren't they both right? Because the first one, it's still doing the area thing, so it's doing its length times type, and then length times height.
All right, so hold on. So let's document. So Andrew's helping them out. He says, okay, they're talking about area, and area is length times height, or length times width, or whatever dimensions you're given.
So
all right, continue.
They did that for all of the pictures, and then they add them all up. But in the other friend, and that would add up to 25H, and 25H.
Ooh, now wait. How do we know?
Because yep, those all add.
So if we look at the area of the first painting, area of the second painting, area of the third painting, they have those all listed out. But what could we do to that expression? The 6.7H plus. What is it called? It's the opposite of distributing.
Association.
What isn't we pull one piece out of it? What is that piece called, Jeremiah?
I don't know.
Starts with an F.
Factoring.
To factor this. So we are actually, and you might want to notate that here, we are going to factor out the greatest common factor. So what's a common factor between all of them? The H. So if we factor out the H comes in front, and then I get 6.7 plus 12.4 plus 5.9.
That would come up to be 25H, which is the same as their other friends, so they're both right.
Ah.
Yeah, they're both right.
Since this comes out to be H times 25, that's the same as saying that the area is just 25H. So once we know how tall they are, then we can solve for the area. Any questions? I like your shirt, Dom. So if you followed it, we're not going to talk about politics, but because I know most of you guys are up to date on current events, if you follow current events and heard anything about the Hamilton musical over the weekend, I find it kind of funny. So not giving any opinions, but I saw this meme that was pretty funny. So Pence is complaining about things that happened, or Trump is really the one complaining about like things that were said because Pence was at this musical and people are all up in arms. Really, it's just the media spiraling things out of control. Nobody should even care about what happened. But there's this meme that's just Abraham Lincoln, and it says Pence wants to complain about his time in the theater. Like, please, because what happened to Abraham Lincoln? He got shot in the back of the head in the theater. So Pence is complaining that like some people like talked to him, like at him essentially. They're like, "Oh, Mr. Pence, you're here," and Abraham Lincoln got assassinated in the theater. So yeah. I find historical humor to be very funny because it's like accurate. So we want to write an expression that fits each description that would come out to be equivalent to negative 6x minus 30. And this is what it's like to be a math teacher. So what we're saying is you want negative 6x minus 30 to be your answer, or to be what your expression comes out in the end. So a product of two factors. What does it mean for something to be a product? What is happening when we have a product? Yeah, Casey? Yeah, so Acadia, how could I make a multiplication of two factors that will come out to be negative 6x minus 30? Is there a factor in both of those that I could pull out to look at it before the multiplication?
The negative and minus.
Okay, so I could pull out the negative because they're both negative. So if I pulled out the negative, how would this look then? Do you know? You don't pass it off. Whitney, what do you think?
6.
Ooh, I could pull out a 6. So let's look at the three options they're going to ask us. Product of two factors, a difference of two expressions. So that's going to be like an expression minus an expression, so difference of two expressions. A sum that requires using the distributive property to simplify. So this is going to be like an expression plus or minus something that has a number that needs distributed. So what Whitney's telling us to do is if we pull out, now I'm going to actually combine both Acadia and Whitney's suggestions. I'm going to pull out the negative and the 6. So for the product of two factors, if I make this negative 6 times, negative 6 is my first factor, my first term. My next expression or term in a way is actually going to be a binomial. So if I pulled out the negative 6 from the negative 6x, what am I left with? Just the x. Then would this be plus or minus? Plus, because remember if I divide by negative 6, negative 30 divided by negative 6 is going to give me 5. Because then if we did the distribution, this would come out to be negative 6x minus 30. You don't have to show what I just wrote in red. That's just the rationale behind why this works. So try these other two. I want to see what you guys can come up with. There are infinitely many right answers. I'm not looking for a single right answer. There are infinitely many right answers. Which should take the stress off a little bit when you know there's infinitely many right answers. Now that doesn't mean every answer's right. It just means there's an infinite amount of choices.
So what, do you want us to solve the got it or the next box?
These next two.
Okay.
So what we're going to have to write for the middle one, a difference of two expressions, each with two unlike terms. So I'm going to have, and I'm actually going to zoom a little bit here just so I have more space to write. So we know we're trying to come out to be negative 6x minus 30 as my answer. So the second one here, you with me? Is going to be an expression with an x value and a constant value, like added or subtracted, minus, because it's different, or a difference, sorry, an x value plus or minus some number value. When I put these together, it needs to be negative 6x minus 30. So try to figure out what, okay, I'm getting a lot of like the weird looks, so let's just go ahead and talk about this together. So we want an expression minus an expression. My initial expression doesn't matter whatsoever. I'm actually going to scoot this over. My second expression will be determined by my first one. So let's try this out. Elena, don't know if you're going to watch the video. Enjoy your trip. Noah, give me a value of x. How many x's do you want to start with?
2.
How many?
2.
2? We're starting with 2 x's. Love it. So, might as well everybody be with me. There are infinitely many right options. We might as well do this one together. Julian, give me an amount of constant. Some number. 5. You guys aren't being very creative this morning. I was waiting for some 634 or something like crazy. Okay, now, hold up. Here's what we need to look at. I need to get negative 6x after I combine my 2x through subtraction with some other x value. So, Anish, what x value would need to go here so that once I do the subtraction, I get negative 6x? 8x, right? Because when I do 2x minus 8x, I'll get negative 6x.
Whoa. You're so smart, Mr. Hudson.
Not that smart. Mr. Hone,
Okay.
what constant value, so I can tell you that you're so smart, do I need to put in here so that after the subtraction I get a minus 30?
Negative 35. I mean, no. Yeah, 35. Yeah, negative 35.
35, negative 35. 35. So he's pretty confident with 35. He can't figure out whether this should be plus or minus.
I don't. Just guess.
Let's play out the options. If I make this a minus 35, what happens when I subtract a minus or subtract a negative?
Positive.
I actually add 5 plus 35 would make positive 40. Not going to work. If I make this plus 35, now this subtraction is going, so I'm essentially going to take 5 minus 35. And 5 minus 35 gets me my minus 30 or my negative 30.
Yeah.
Any questions on how this works? This minus applies to both of the terms in the parentheses after it. So I want you guys to try the third one on your own. You're going to have a sum now, so instead of a difference, you're going to have a sum that requires the distributive property to simplify. So you don't necessarily have to have an expression plus an expression. You can just have a value plus an expression, but you have to use the distributive property. Hang on, Todd, I'll be right back there. Have to use the distributive property. So. Yeah, but these wouldn't be the same. They'd be, they'd be non-like terms. Yeah. Yes, but now we need to use that with a sum, so we would want something like out in front of it. So, to give you like an example for those of you struggling to get started, if I had, let's say, 3x plus some value, number or variable, times an expression, this will have to distribute before I can add. So this would have to distribute before I could add. Now, I don't care what you start with. It really doesn't matter. It's determined by what we choose. So we still need to end up negative 6x minus 30. So Mr. Smith, what do you want to start with? You want to start with a constant or a variable term? There aren't any wrong answers yet. You literally can't make them. Variable term, all right, how many?
7,000.
Okay, now you're going to make your work really difficult. So do you want to make your work harder or easier?
Harder, 204.
204? I'm going to go with 240, actually. I'm going to switch your numbers around. So we're going to start with 240x.
That is a lot of it.
We're going to add that. There's going to be some value out front. So the question is, I'm going to have an x term in here. And I'm going to have something that multiplies by it. And I need to end up with negative 6x. So really, what I need to do to get my 240x down to a negative 6x is subtract 246x. Now I see that 246 is an even number. So I could just go ahead and say, what if I just distribute a 2?
That is so smart.
If I'm going to distribute a 2, what would my x value inside the parentheses need to be? Sam? What?
Negative 3.
Ooh, I agree with negative. But remember, I need to make these combine to give me a negative 246x. Because to get to my negative 6x, I have to take away 246x. So if I distribute the 2 in here, the 2 is going to double everything in my parentheses. So what x value do I need to get doubled? 120. Ooh, not just 120. 123x. I know, as soon as you said 204 and I thought about using 240, I thought the 123 would be fun. So when I distribute, this will become negative 246x. But then I still need my constant value. So my constant value, do I have any constant values yet?
The 2 in front of the...
Well, it's not constant until I know what it combines with.
Oh, then no.
Because right now it's a multiplier. When it multiplies here, it turns into a variable. So I have no constant values yet. What constant value do I need to end with, Andrew?
30? No. Yes.
30?
Yes, so we 15? No.
A minus 30, right? Or a negative 30.
Yes,
So I agree. If I make this negative or minus 15, when the 2 distributes and doubles it, that'll give me the minus 30. So let's do the work all the way through and verify this. My 240x drops down. My distribution gives me a negative 246x. My other distribution gives me a negative 30. And when I combine these values, I get negative 6x minus 30.
Woo.
Any questions? Is anyone confused on why I really have infinitely many choices? Because Jeremiah just he said 204, I switched it around to 240. He just pulled that out of thin air. He's like, I don't even know, what do I want to start with, whatever. The only reason I stopped him from 7,000 is that would have made really big numbers, and I don't have that much board space, so that was really, you could start with 8,742,615x. It doesn't matter what you start with. All of this gets determined by what you start with. Because we can make equivalent expressions all day long. Any values you want. You just have to make sure that when they combine together, they do what you want them to do. Try the got it. You need to write an expression that is a difference of 2 products. So, difference tells me I'm going to have to subtract 2 products. There needs to be 2 different multiplications going on. I'm curious what we get here. Now remember, there are 2 different variable values, so you could break up the variables and break up the constants. So if I make one set my x's,
I'm tired.
I agree. Good thing there's only 2 school days.
I know, that's great. I'm going to fall asleep at like 8 o'clock on Tuesday. It's more like 1.5. Because tomorrow
Yeah, we're going bowling, and it's a short day. I get to teach you guys about the math of bowling tomorrow morning.
Wait, you do?
Yeah, during foundations.
What's that? Bowling.
It's really complicated, actually.
It actually is.
I know all about bowling because my dad's a coach and my sister is
I'm not that great, but I enjoy it.
Can you teach me how to make it work?
How the machines? You mean how they calculate the score?
No, how they like send the ball underground and then...
Oh, that's easy. That's just physics.
Ball really is.
All it does, it literally just drops it, and it's got a slope that makes sure that it will keep its speed, and by the amount that it dropped it with, as long as the space it needs to come up is less than the space that it dropped, it will make it up the incline. It's like a roller coaster. Roller coasters don't have anything that pushed them, except for gravity.
Well, yeah.
Unless a chain links on and grabs it. Now, like top throw dragster, that's electromagnetic
That's
fields.
fine.
That's
That's
opposing electromagnetic
that
fields.
rhymes
I don't trust him.
But most roller coasters just work off gravity. That's how the ball return works in a
My dad taught me the math of
bowling alley.
He's a coach in my
So, let's start choosing some values because everything else is going to be determined. So did anyone do this on their own? Yeah, Ozzy.
I started it.
All right, so what'd you start with for your X values over here?
2x.
So I need
Same.
products. I gotta have a distribution going on. So that's the problem here. Jeremiah?
I had 2 outside of the parentheses, then 5x minus 2y.
Now hold it. So 2 times 5x minus what?
2y. And then minus 20.
So hold on. So let's think this through as we're going. This will turn into 10x minus 4y when I do the distribution. So just think about that or jot that somewhere. So then, Jeremiah, you said you did
Subtracted by 22.
22 here.
What?
Well, stick with them.
I believe you.
Times what?
I don't know.
You can't. Yeah, you can't just like.
You can't only do half of it.
You can start with whatever you want, but then it's all gotta like. It all has to fit together in the end. Andrew,
Okay,
you want me to wipe this? Start over.
Yeah, start over. Do I have to have 2 parentheses? Or
You have to have 2 products. There has to be 2 sets
Okay.
that multiply.
So I did 2, and then in parentheses, 2.5x.
So when you factor out a 2, you end up with a partial value in here that's not as nice as we would like it to be.
Not everything.
What would be the nicest number that we could put out here to make my life easy? Remember, I want to make your guys' life easy.
It's a little baby.
That doesn't change anything. Putting a 1 out here is dumb.
But it's still
A
multiplication.
5.
Oh, okay.
What if I put a 5 out
1x.
here?
1x.
Then this would just be x, or 1x if you want to put the 1.
Did we do another parentheses and then minus?
But I could also have some kind of constant here. So I could plus or minus something.
1. 0.
Well, 0, we wouldn't write that, because that'd be pointless.
Well,
So if I put a 1 or a 2 or a 3, I mean, I can put whatever I want here.
10,640.
But that's going to make my work really, really hard.
2.
So what if I just make this a 2? Then this will be 5x plus 10 when I distribute. So keep that in your brain.
Oh.
Minus,
I get it now. So we minus 8y.
well, do we have any y's yet?
No. But
So I need to
we'll
make
do.
my minus 2y. So I've done my 5x. My 5x is taken care of. Now I need to worry about my y's and my constants. So what if I do a minus 2 times y?
Oh, that would be itself already, right?
But then what constant do I need?
Plus negative 8. 1.
Where does my constant need to get to?
11.
I need to get to negative 11. So what do I need to combine with my plus 10 to get me to negative 11?
Negative 22.
Anish?
Negative 13.
Negative 13 will get me to negative 11?
No. Negative 13 plus 2.
Hold on. I'm not looking for what do I plug in here. I'm looking in total, what other constant do I need to combine with it? Honest?
Negative 22.
22 will get rid of my positive 10. And wait,
Oh, no.
it'll get rid of my positive
It'll get-
10.
And then, no, it's 21.
Ooh, 21
I knew there was
is what I need here to get, because think about it, 10 minus, if you did 22, 10 minus 22, if I'm at 10 and I subtract 22, I end up at negative 12.
Oh.
I need to land at negative 11. So, crap. If I need to make 21, I've already got my negative 2, but what does negative 2 have to multiply by to make 21?
Some complex decimal.
It's not that bad. Break the 20 in half, break the 1 in half.
10.5.
10.5. Thank you.
And you said I couldn't do.
I didn't say you couldn't. I said we want to avoid it if possible.
It'd be easy though.
I can no longer avoid that. Or, if this didn't say 2 products,
Then you could.
imagine I could just make this an 11 and then add or subtract whatever other constant I need. Because I could keep going. But it says 2. So I need 2 separate. I have this expression here minus this expression here. This will totally work. Now, there's infinitely other ways we could do this. Huh? So, let's walk through this.
Wait, no, I have a question.
It should be.
equation.
Hold on. Hang on to your questions for a second. So, when we do the distributions, my blue is going to be what we get. 5 times 1x is 5x. Good. I need the 5x. 5 times a positive 2 is a positive 10. Well, I'm working towards my constants, but I need a constant of negative 11 in the end. Negative 2 times y, because the sign in front of the term goes with it, gives me negative 2y. Now I could write plus negative if I want to, but we're kind of beyond that. Then negative 2 times 10.5 gives me negative 21. When I go through, my x is the only x term. My y is the only y term, and that lines up with what I was looking for. But then my constants, my positive 10 and my negative 21, need to be combined, and when they are, I get negative 11. Because when I do 10 minus 21, I get to negative 11.
Okay, I got it. That's
Jeremiah.
I think I found the way to fix my problem. It was 2 parentheses 5x minus 2y, and then minus 22 times 1.
Hold on. 5x minus 2y.
Yeah,
Then what?
minus 22 times 1. Would that work?
No, you need 21.
Minus 22 what?
Times 1.
This is going to give you negative 4y and 10x. You're forgetting about the distribution, dude. Because when you go and distribute this multiplication, this would give you 10x minus 4y minus 22. Either that or I'm not understanding what you're saying, but I think you have an error. So please make sure you have written down what we have so you can compare.
You're like the only teacher that says dude.
All right, dude.
Unless you said elementary school would never do it.
Sorry, I like to be somewhat informal with you guys because why not?
Well, I know.
Like, it just makes it a bit more enjoyable.
You know, Mr. Kabilo has Instagram.
Yeah, my 8th graders were giving me a hard time for the fact that I don't.
What? You don't
So, if we were going to set up... Hold up.
You have Snap.
My brother desperately needs a new fence. This is real story. In his yard, we did build a shed in the corner. So if we were going to replace his fence, we wouldn't necessarily need to replace the fence by the shed. Here, they have a doghouse in the corner. So this edge and this edge would not need a fence. The doghouse takes care of blocking the yard. So we need to figure out how we could determine the total amount of fencing they need. So, it says write and simplify an expression for the cost in dollars of the fencing. It's $5.80 per square foot. Or sorry, per foot, per linear foot. When you buy a fence, it's measured in like how long is the fence, because it's gonna be how tall it is, like they just know how tall it is. So, when you start looking at this, if I ask you to express,
That's an expensive fence.
not really actually, fences are expensive.
Fences
Like,
are expensive. That's kind of annoying. Just go Jermaine would that.
if I ask you the entire length, Jaslyn, what do you think? We know how long the doghouse is, but what if I ask you for the entire length of the fence? Mm-hmm. So, could you make an expression to represent the length of the fence? What expression would that be? Well, what? So, when we're looking at this length, what portion of it do we know?
No, 6.5.
Yeah, we know the 6.5. So, draw a dotted line down right here, guys. And then draw a dotted line across right here. We know that this portion is 6.5. So I know 6.5 plus, yeah, plus x. Even though I don't know it, I can use it. This width, if we want to call it the width, because again, it doesn't matter what you name it. Acadia, what would our width be here?
Well, it would be 4.25 times or plus x.
I completely agree. So then I want you on your paper. Don't worry about what A and B are specifically asking right now. Write me an expression for the length of the fence. Don't worry about cost. The entire distance the fence needs to cover. So not just length, but the entire thing together.
Is the fence covering the doghouse too?
No. So guys, this section and this section do not need fence. Because the doghouse blocks the yard. It's a big old doghouse, like Dog Mansion. But everything else needs fence. So I'm going to clear this because it's up on the TV.
Wait,
Yeah.
wouldn't it just be, since x is the same thing, right? On top and bottom, it would be the same thing, but since the whole length is 4 and a fourth, and then x, and then wouldn't x be the same? So they'd have to like balance out.
So this x here will be the same as this x here, will be the same as this x here, and this x there. But remember, this stops right there. Stops right there. So this was our 6.5, and this has to be our 4.25. So that's what we know.
Mr. Hudson, the answer is obvious. Just go to buy one fence and then put it down, and then go to the store, buy one more, and then put
You got that much time to waste?
Hey, yup.
Okay. I'll hire you next time I got a job. I will pay you by the job, not by the hour. And then we'll see how much you like that.
You should do by the hour.
Yeah, but he said he's got time to waste.
Oh.
So Sean, now that you brought yourself into this conversation, much appreciated, sir, because we hadn't made it to your card yet. How can we talk about the total fencing that we need?
Well, we know that we could subtract whatever the area of the doghouse.
Ooh, now be careful. You just said area.
Or perimeter, because you can do perimeter because then you subtract that.
So you're doing perimeter minus the doghouse? Love it.
That's
So
what I did.
if we talk perimeter, how do I find perimeter of any rectangle?
Add up both sides.
Well, yeah, or I can more quickly, instead of adding up 4 different things,
Times
I can add up double the length and double the width. Yeah, I'm not calling on you intentionally because now you're just making yourself look foolish. I have a method. I've got a stack of cards. I got to talk to everybody. I get it. You probably know the answer. Good. I got to make sure everyone gets it. So my perimeter, I could do 2 times that 6.5 plus x plus 2 times my 4.25 plus x. But then I have over counted, which is kind of what we say even if we're not counting. I've got too much involved there. Julian, why do I have too much involved?
Because you counted the doghouse.
I got to get rid of the doghouse, so I got to get rid of this length and this length, so I need to take away the 4.25 plus the 6.5. Because I'm taking away those both. So this is now going to become, and I'm going to kind of work my smartboard to my advantage. Sorry that this is going to look a little messy. Look on the TV if you need to. But I'm going to drag this down so that I can keep writing. When I distribute all this for my first expression, what do I get? Ozzy?
Is it 13 plus plus 2x.
Yeah, 13 plus 2x. Plus my next distribution, Anish.
8.25 plus 2x.
Ooh, 8.5 plus 2x. Then minus, oh, can I combine these? Yeah, so we do. Yeah.
Minus 10.75.
Group like terms. My x's work together. My constants can work together. Make sure the sign in front of the term goes with the term. So we get 2x plus 13 plus 8.5 gives me 21.5. But then minus 10.75.
It's a lot.
What?
So 13 and 8.5. When I just do the addition, gets me 21.5. Then though, I got to take away 10.75. So take away the 10, I land at 11.5. Take away the 0.75,
9.9.
10.75.
Yeah. Why did it? Shouldn't that be 4x? Yeah, which
Oh, my bad. Good catch. That one wasn't even on purpose.
No, you don't tell them that. You say, oh yeah, I was just testing.
I know, but I don't disguise my emotions very well. So. But crap.
Are you feeling sadness?
This is just the fence, like, distance. If we want to talk about the cost,
Oh, wait.
Oh shit.
what do I need to do to the length or the distance to turn it into a cost expression? Anish?
Mine was 5.8.
Take your distance and multiply it by your price per foot. So 5.80 times that distance, that's my fence cost.
We can do that like that for B.
So,
like next.
any questions on part A? How we did all that? We first looked at the whole perimeter, then we took away what we didn't need, combined your like terms to clean it up, multiply by your cost.
Couldn't we solve further?
We can. So, the dog's owner has $200 to spend on fencing. Does he have enough money for the length of X to be 8? Now, here's the deal. I could solve this two different ways. Right now, we don't know how to solve it using the $200. We know how to solve it if I make my X 8. So, we're going to use X as 8 by doing what? What's that technique when I plug something in for something else? Starts with an S. Substitution. So I'm going to substitute 8 in for my X, and everything else stays the same. So do what you can before you do too much work. So hey, I need eyes up here real quick. Now that we don't have a variable, can I do 4 times 8?
Yes.
Can I then do the addition in the parentheses?
CC.
We don't need to distribute here. Never fail, I've got somebody trying to do this. That would work, but it's way too much work. Like, it will work, but it's a lot of work. Instead, do your 4 times 8, add your 10.75, multiply by our $5.80, and we get that in the end, the final cost would be, Hoover? I see you.
Still working.
I see you punching away over there. There's like steam coming out of your ears.
The answer is 240. Well, it costs $247.95. You would not have enough.
So he needs to wait and save a little bit more money, or he just won't be able to finish the fence, or maybe he can go ask his parents for a loan or something.
Wait, so wait.
$247.95 if those X sections are 8. So when we reason through this, what could he do if he only has $200 and that's that?
Not build a fence.
Well, he
Build a
could
fence
try
and
to
just
build
wait so,
something.
or downsize the X.
You can still fence with
Downsize your X. If he builds a slightly smaller fence, he could afford it. But most people, when you think about this practically, are not going to make their fence smaller. They'll just spend the extra money. They'll wait and save some more money because they want their fence to cover their whole yard.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or get an electric dog collar, which may be.
Yeah, but that's kind of inhumane. All right, one more. I got time for at least one more.
That's what I have. That's what
So, hey, you need to look up here because you don't have colors on your paper. Costs too much to print like that. A gardener plans to enlarge a small rectangular flower garden by X feet on all sides. The border is going to cost $2.30. So this is the existing garden. We want to know, write in simplified expression for the cost in dollars of the brick border. Is there any section here that I don't need to border?
The middle part.
But if I look at border, does the middle actually relate? No, so I need to border the whole thing, right? So I want you guys, and you can work with your partner people, because we're going to pick this up when we come back. We're actually just probably going to spend the rest of the period on this. You need to first write an expression for the distance the border has to cover, then write cost. So your first one, really there should be like a part sub A before A. First thing you need to determine is your distance. So that should be step one. Then deal with your costs. You guys got time. Take a minute. You got time. Yeah, see how disrespectful it is? So, real quick, has anyone gotten to a simplified point of distance? Manasa?
I don't know if this is simplified, but
Okay.
it's kind of an expression I came up with for the distance of the border.
Okay.
7 plus 2x times 5 plus 2x.
Yeah.
I think there's that times might be in the wrong place. Ozzy, totally simplified all the way.
2x. Oh wait, what? Oh, I said I can still do that. 4x plus 12.
Ooh, here's what I was scared of. This, now blue's gonna be easier.
Oh, I got the expression. 2x plus.
Now hold up,
7
if this
2x
distance is x, that means this is x, 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 this is x. I have a feeling that most of us aren't gonna have enough x's. We will pick this up when we come back after Thanksgiving. Have a wonderful break. Try to get done with all your practice work. You should be ready, even though we got a couple more problems to take care of. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.